Happy Valentine's Day, Billiken fans. It's Zach Miller and Peter Hale. This is the Midtown Madness podcast. Pete, how are we doing today?
We've been better. We're hanging in there though. Um, first off, I know this is a day later than people are used to, and sorry you don't get to hear our voices on Valentine's Day because I don't think anything would be a better start to a romantic day than hearing the two of us talk slew sports.
Yeah, no. I speaking of Valentine's Day, I think I speak for everyone when I say that we owe Peter's wife a thank you for letting him join us on Valentine's Day. I'm sure it's a lovely end to a romantic evening, hanging with your wife and two kids. I'm sure it was all perfect.
It's right now it's almost 11 Eastern, and my wife is still up with our 2-year old who sounds like, from what I could tell, she might be coming down with a cough, which is just like, you know, of course. So
Another another
yeah,
time.
so it doesn't matter. There are no Valentine's Day romantic. There's no, that doesn't exist anymore.
Something to look forward to on my end.
Yeah, I should
Um,
be a cautionary tale. Just
yes.
saying.
Um, I think we're going to start off with women's basketball because at least they won. No, we'll start off with men's basketball because I think our listener base might revolt if men's basketball is playing and we don't cover them first. That being said, if the women's basketball team were in like the NCAA tournament, I would defer to them obviously or something like that.
Well,
Uh,
we can at least start with a win.
yeah, we'll start with a win. Let's talk about the women's basketball. Just an absolute gutty performance against Dayton on Saturday.
Yeah, it really was. They stuck in this one. I mean, really, I want to say until like the last 3 or 4 minutes. They were down about 7 with 3 minutes to go. They were within 2 or 3 baskets for a lot of the second half. Um, then Dayton winds up making a layup to
Wait,
make
we're
it
talking
nine.
about Davidson. Did I say Dayton? I think I said
You
Dayton.
said Dayton, so I went to the women's game.
Sorry. Let's go to the women's game versus Davidson, the 54-51 win.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
we'll do that one. All right,
Uh,
sorry.
no, I said Dayton because I don't know why. Um, but yeah, this one, I mean, 7 players available. Not only do you have Nai Tong with an Achilles, Kylie Best catches an ACL, and now you've got Kaija Harbison, a player who has never missed a game in her tenure, no, her career as a Billiken, is now out in concussion protocol.
Yeah, not ideal circumstances to come into to a game, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, they just found another gear in this one, and with Harbison out, with 7 players available, and when they're going, without Bess, who's their 3 point specialist, they go 1 of 11 from three. They just find a way to win it. They out rebounded Davidson 48-33. It's kind of crazy to think, with the big ACL tear for Smith Traore coming into the season, that it's kind of the front court who got it done. Um, and then we also saw the debut of the mid-season signee, Anna Maria Prifti, if I'm saying that right. The Greek. She made her first appearance. She only played 3 minutes, um, but it was at least good to see that they do have at least one reinforcement down the stretch here. Martinez nearly had a triple double with a 9-8-7 game. I don't know if you were keeping track of that one to see if she would pull it off.
I'm so bad at keeping track of like individual stats during the game. Everybody's at the end of the game like, oh, Collins had a triple nickel. I think the only time I've really followed the stats with him was his assist game.
Yeah,
That was the one where and I was counting them loudly in the stands. I'm
yeah.
sure everybody loved that. Davidson obviously not a A10, not on the top end of the table, we'll say. But regardless, I mean, this season for the Billikens reminds me so much of, and I tweeted about it, and I believe it's the 01-02 season or the 2000-2001 season. I think they had something like 5 or 6 players out with stress fractures, and it was from allegedly, because I don't want, let's not get sued by Nike here. Allegedly, it was the shoes
It-
mixed with potentially the West Pine gym floor.
yeah, I mean, well, playing in West Pine Gym is already a hazard in and of itself. But if you remember our conversation with Tony Breitbach, in early days of our show, one of our first interviews, who was former head athletic trainer, and honestly, everybody should go back and listen to that one. He's loves SLU so much, it's infectious. But he talked about that a little bit, and it did turn out to be the shoes, and it took him a while to figure that out. I was actually at SLU at the time, and even though I was a manager for the men's program, I did, with other managers, we worked the scoreboard and shot clock at the women's games, and just being around West Pine Gym all the time, you're just around everybody else. It was really weird, and after a few of them went down, it was like there's got to be something going on here, and they did finally pin it to the team shoe that year, and it was putting a weird, I don't know, Tony could describe it better than I can, but it was, everything was all off on this shoe, and they wound up with several stress fractures. And yeah, it is kind of reminiscent of that this season. This season, though, is like it's purely bad luck, because
Yeah.
you're talking about a different injury in every case. Knees, Achilles, concussions. I mean, it's something different with every player. It's just a string of horrible luck for these players
I
and for
was
this
ready to
program.
run strength and conditioning coach out of town for a while. That in the days after Perkins and MST, I was ready to send him on his way.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely get the feeling, but it really is just bad luck. I mean,
Uh,
the strength and conditioning, the athletic training, nutrition, everything is so much more sophisticated than it was
yep.
in the very recent past. So I don't think it's anything like that.
Uh, but we talked about Anna Maria Prifty and being a reinforcement. That season, they had to call in. Sorry, I just hit the mic. They had to call in reinforcement from the volleyball team. Brooke Manier joined the team and actually got some minutes. That was fun. It was like having a walk on, but like turned up to 10 where people wanted to see her score. So it
It's
was
like
pretty
the
awesome.
emergency goalie in the
Yes,
NHL is kind of
that's
the
exactly
analogy I
what it
like.
is.
Yeah, the guy who's got a free season ticket, and he's got his pads in the car, just in case. And then there's always the story every few years of like, goalie goes down, and they've got to fly up the backup from San Antonio
Yeah.
or wherever the affiliate is. But yeah, it's kind of like that.
The e-bug is really the everyman's dream. It's like wearing the jersey to the game. You're like the coach is gonna pull me out of the stands.
Yeah,
It's like a kid. Like it's like that. Like Mike. It's like it's like that. It's awesome. And she was really good for the as far as what she was for back then. So I think she was like a high school like an all state basketball player to go along with volleyball. Um, well, let's jump back to men's basketball. Unfortunately, and we're gonna jump back to the last women's game after this, but um, you know, we'll kick off the men's with a win at LaSalle, 75-57 on Tuesday, February 8th. This game, it had a little nervy start to it, Pete.
yeah, it wasn't pretty. We have to keep in mind, so often we complain about the level of competition in this conference, or facilities, or officiating, or whatever it might be. But the fact of the matter is, it is tough to win on the road. We've made the CONCACAF analogy a couple times for men's soccer and some of the conditions they had to play in, but it kind of fits for men's basketball too. Like, these are just tough road trips. We're playing at LaSalle in a gym above a pool. Everything there is weird. The walls kind of lean in a little bit. It's like, I don't know. It's like being in a big Star Wars spaceship or something. It's just a very strange vibe there, and we haven't played great there in recent history. We lost 3 years in a row. I want to say 16, 17, 18. We only won by one last year there. We don't necessarily play there every season, but um, coming into this game, a lot of people were nervous about it, and I think that's probably the reason why. But honestly, for whatever reason this season, I kind of felt a little better about it just because I think LaSalle's worse than they've been lately. To be honest, I don't know if you were kind of on the same page there.
Yeah. First of all, playing at Gola Arena, playing college basketball at Gola Arena is like playing competitive men's slow pitch at Jamestown Sports Complex. It's just like I don't know if anybody has ever been on the softball field there indoors. It is insane. But yeah, no, this game was like I don't know. I get nervous every time we're on the road. I don't care who it is. I don't care
Hmm.
if we're going to Fordham. I don't care if we're going to Mississippi Valley State, the Delta Devils, whatever team that is, or community college. I could care less. It's we struggle on the road. I think everybody does, and it's a hard life putting your faith in teenagers to win basketball games, and uh, especially at LaSalle. LaSalle, we've had trouble there, like you said, but we held on to the ball, and I think that really was the kind of the steadying of the ship in this one, and allowed us to build that lead that we never relinquished.
Yeah, I think that's right. Only 8 turnovers in this one. We out rebounded LaSalle by 12, 43-31. Kind of a weird game in that, didn't really shoot a lot of threes and didn't hit a lot of them, only going 3 of 11. 46 points in the paint is not necessarily something you expect to see from SLU every night. And Francis Okoro was just dominant.
Mm-hmm.
9 of 11 from the field. He finished with 19 and 7 rebounds. A little bit quieter game from Linson. And they both got into a little bit of foul trouble in this one, which fortunately was not a factor like it would be in a closer game. Ford has said it's kind of a focus for the staff heading into the final stretch of the season. So I hope that's the case. But I think you're right. We just kind of played a sound game with the ball in our hands. And like I said, it wasn't always pretty. It's not going to be like that when you're kind of just punching it inside and trying to force turnovers and get stops at the other end. It was just kind of an old school game. We were the better team, but yeah, just always lucky to come out of a Gola game with a win.
This was a loud Thatch game. He has
Yeah,
quiet Thatch games. All these, like all of our stars, not I won't say stars, but all of our impact players, impact guards, have their quiet games where they'll put up 9, 10, and you won't realize it. Like Yuri got to 10 assists today. When did he do that? Like
yeah.
when did that happen? But Jimerson had a quiet game. Thatch had a loud game.
He had his first double double ever with 14 and
Is
10.
that true?
I did not believe it, but it's been confirmed. Basically, he's never had 10 rebounds.
Wow.
Honestly, I mean, most of the time he's not scoring double digits points in his career, especially like think back to his freshman year when his percentages were really low offensively. Thatch does a lot of things well, especially defensively. He's so strong, he's so sound. I really like what he brings to the team, but yeah, he's never been flashy in the box score, putting up big numbers. So yeah, first career double double, and we'll take it. Jimerson was a lot quieter with 13 and 8, pretty close to Thatch's number, and 8 is kind of a unusual rebound number for Jimerson. But yeah, productive in his own way.
This was a good game to get Hargrove back on track.
Yeah,
He had a nice little game.
he did, and I think this is the first time he's hit multiple 3-pointers since he initially had that kind of slump starting in January that we kind of talked about a little bit. And his energy and effort really seemed to get better in the 3 games leading up to this LaSalle game. And yeah, just 8 points, but those 2 threes were pretty big, and really liked what I saw from him in this game.
Do you think the level of competition? I'm not making an excuse, but do you think the level of competition? You go from playing, say, a LaSalle, and you move on and you play Bonaventure. I mean, you look at a guy just on expectations. I know they scout like almost like just the most in-depth scouting reports you'll ever find, but at some point you get in a game like LaSalle at a certain speed for Okoro, and then he goes up against Osun, and it's got to be just another world.
Yeah, it has to be. I think it's really stark in this case because I think Oshuni is really a special player. He's the best five in this conference, I think. Well, he just is, and he's athletic. He's so long. He's got good instincts. He's a pest to play against. He kind of knows how to sell calls and work the refs. There are a lot of ways in which it's hard to play against him. LaSalle has nothing like that. Okoro is a very sound center. He's very deliberate in his movements, meaning when he plays a five or whoever's guarding him, who's quicker than him, which is going to be a lot of guys. If you're playing it at a higher level of competition, he does struggle a little bit because he's just so methodical when he gets the ball. I'm always, when he gets it in the post, I'm always screaming at him to like go up faster, to go up right away with the ball. He kind of brings it down a little bit, pivots, looks up, like he kind of takes his time, and Oshuni feasts on that. But Okoro's strong enough that against LaSalle with slower, less athletic bigs, he can just feast on those dudes.
Right.
So I think it is a pretty, his success is pretty matchup dependent. Yeah, I agree with that.
And since we've already said O'Shunahy and St. Bonaventure, the Billikens drop a conference home game, a game they needed. It was 68-61. My eyes are going bad, Pete. That was on Friday, February 11th. I mean, it just, we started the game really nicely. Looked like we had a chance to run away with it. And just a switch flipped, and the Billikens couldn't get anything going inside. And then, in the second half, couldn't hit anything.
So we went down initially, like really, really early. And then we went on that 12-point run. And it kind of looked like in the first half, you're right. Like we had a chance to kind of put this thing away. Well, I guess, never really put it away that early, but to really put Bonaventure in enough of a hole that they couldn't climb out of. But after our run, they go on an even bigger run. And yeah, I don't know. It just it didn't make any sense. Bonaventure played, I guess, in that game, a sort of matchup zone. I guess it's a upstate New York thing, a Bayheim, Syracuse kind of thing. And we played right into it.
Yeah. Talk to me about that, because me, I'm just the chucklehead. With not a lot of basketball background, but I
Yeah,
try hard.
and that's not really the look they threw at us in today's game, which we'll get to next. I guess yesterday's game, if you're listening to this on Tuesday, but yeah, they played this matchup zone and it slowed us down. And the offense, we were playing that kind of offense that we normally do. We bring the five up. We kind of play a lot of pick and roll through that. The wings kind of stay on the wings. Jimerson's always in motion. Hargrove and Nesbitt kind of tend to get lost in our offense, I think. We don't really run plays around them necessarily. And it kind of played into their hands. We were going deep into shot clocks. Collins would bring it deep into the lane a lot of times and not necessarily have a place to go with it. And it was leading to a lot of turnovers, and it was leading to a lot of shots late in the shot clock. And just kind of felt like we played right into their hands almost the whole game. It was really frustrating to watch.
Yeah, I really, it felt like we would get deep down under the hoop, and then, I mean, we're looking for a foul and it's not there, or
Yeah.
it is there and it's not being called. Now, guys, I want to take this opportunity since we're getting on the refs now. Um, I am very emotionally tied to this basketball team. I I swear to God, I don't believe half the stuff I tweet from the account. Like I'm not like when I get emotional, but I like, well, like run with it, guys. I'm not that stupid. I know that it's not the officials always, but when you see, what it just feels that way all the time, Pete. That we can't catch a break, and I'm searching for any reason why we wouldn't get fair officiating. And the only thing I can come with is everybody hates Travis Ford. That's all I got.
There are a lot, including friend of the show, Rammer, who a lot of people do think that there's something about Slew being the oddball in this league that we just don't get any love. We don't get the benefit of the doubt. I don't know if there's anything to that or not. I have no idea. What I do know is that college refs love to call charges.
They love it.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
This Valentine's Day, find you a Valentine that loves you the way refs love calling charges.
You'll be the happiest person on earth if you find that person. I mean, it's insane. And like charges really do not make the game any better whatsoever. I think with charges, we're generally rewarding the wrong thing. People want to see scoring. They want to see offense. They don't want to see two guys crashing to the ground and potentially getting hurt. It's just dumb. I think I would probably call conservatively 1/5 as many charges as are called. Like maybe 1 out of 5 to 1 out of 10, somewhere in there. Of those plays, I would actually call a charge versus a block. I just think it's a stupid rule that needs to be revisited. Nevertheless, Slew is on the wrong end of those way more frequently than our opponents. But we also manage to get more blocking calls against us than our opponents. And it's one thing if the refs are a little charge happy in a game, if you've got a crew that tends to call those a little bit more. But when you're getting the short end of the stick on both ends, to me, it's like we're doing something wrong. Are we not practicing that? Are we not accounting for that? I don't know what we're doing, but our guys keep getting themselves into trouble. And a lot of times I'll watch the replay and go, okay, I see why that was called a charge. But it's just the disparity is really, it's really getting to me over the course of this year. And I just don't know. I don't know. We gotta figure that out.
Yeah, for sure. I think, oh man, I can't do it. Can't do it. No, it's frustrating. And to make matters worse, when we did get fouls called, free throws, man.
Yeah.
It really, I think those first 4 shots where we went, we go 1 of 4, Jimerson missing 2 in a row.
Yeah, he missed. I think those were his only 2 free throws.
That set the tone.
Yeah, it's
I thought
weird.
for the just the unraveling that happened.
Well, we still wound up going 7 for 12 from the free throw line. So if you take his out, that's 7 of the next 10.
I more or less
which is about
confidence, though.
Which is about the average. Yeah, I agree with that. I was a lot more upset by the turnovers in this one. 18,
oh God.
18 turnovers, and Bonaventure only had 7. And that's a trend that very much continued over to the next game at Bonaventure, which we'll get into. I was a lot more frustrated with that than the free throw shooting, because the free throw shooting, they were also 7 of 12 from the line. So that's kind of a wash to me. But we've been so good from the free throw line all season that it is a little frustrating.
Yeah. One thing that was odd in this one was the Linson versus Okoro choice, the utilization of them by Travis Ford in this one. Linson got lost somewhere in the second half. Any idea?
Yeah. No, I have no idea. The minute split was 25-15 in favor of Okoro. Basically, one of them is on the floor at any time. It winds up being the exact same in the next game. Not that I want to say it was like 23-17 or something like that in the next game. Basically, their minutes are going to add up to 40 in the last 2 games. Sorry, it was 27-13 in the next game. But basically, one of them is on the floor at all times. To me, if you're going to go purely with a center by committee, I would like it to be a little closer to 2020 based on the skill set that these guys bring, and but also based on the fact that what I said earlier about Okoro and his particular style against Oshuni, I don't think is very favorable. And I Linson is a lot quicker offensively with the ball in his hands. He catch high, release high. He's got he's got some moves that I think at least throw a different look at them. So I don't know why the minutes were over 2/3 in favor of Okoro in both games.
So a little stay woke, I guess, on this one. If you're looking at the minute distribution for the game here in St. Louis, um, Osunniyi plays 26, Koulibaly plays 14. Uh, so was Travis Ford only comfortable sending Okoro out against Osunniyi versus Linson going out against Koulibaly?
I don't think it was an even split, but I think that had more to do with the fact that Oshuni had two fouls against him in the first half, and they pulled him out for a while. Because we all know that Schmidt is going to play all five of those guys 40 minutes if he can. The only time they do come out is if they're dead tired or if they are in foul trouble, and I think that was the case. Now, Koulibaly, am I saying that right? Koulibaly. Um,
Koulibaly's fine.
Koulibaly, yeah, he did. Let's see here. He did play a little bit in the second half as well.
Yeah.
But I think again, I think that had more to do with keeping Oshuni out of foul trouble in this one. Um, which unfortunately is
I
not a factor in the next game.
I thought it was. I honestly thought we were like once we had Osunniyi and Faltra, I thought we were good to go.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
thought
I
we were
was
gonna
like,
win
just
that
take
damn
it at him.
game.
Just let's go. Take it at
No.
Koulibaly because he's absolutely one of those centers who's a little bit slower. He's a big guy, but yeah, I didn't think we would have any trouble against him, and we didn't. I mean, like Oshuni has completely flummoxed us at both ends ever since he got into the league.
Mm-hmm.
So if he's ever out, I mean, you got to take advantage of that.
Where do you land on bright spots for this game? Who were you encouraged by?
So in this game, whew, um,
I mean, I thought Fred played okay. I mean,
yeah,
Linson had 10 points. I mean, Linson, I don't
yeah,
get it. I don't get
Linson,
it.
he had 10 points in 15 minutes. He had and three rebounds too, which
Yeah.
is fine for him for 15 minutes. He had the kind of game that does make you wonder why he didn't play more. Yeah, I thought Thatch was good too. He fouled out in this one, and honestly, two of his fouls, I want to say, kind of felt like he was punished for being stronger,
Yeah.
than the guy he was guarding. Very frustrating. This was one of those really unusual games, though, that I just didn't. Nobody had the kind of game that really felt like a star performance to me. I mean, even Collins, who had 18 points and 7 assists, he had 8 turnovers and was really I don't know. He just his decision making in this one was really frustrating to me.
Yeah, I think that's it carried over into the next game as well, and I guess that's as good a transition as ever.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, the Billikens dug themselves a grave and furiously tried to claw themselves out. Um, Ended up buried alive, 83-79 in Olean. Not a place you want to spend your Monday afternoon. But yeah, what'd you think, man? What?
Well,
I nearly turned it off at half.
it you wouldn't have been, ridiculous to do that. I mean, this team had their way with us in the first half, 48 points, and every time down the floor you just felt like they were going to score. Um
Yeah, I felt that way in the final 10 minutes, even like after we had after we had made a comeback, I was like, there's no way. Like, I'm watching the last few possessions. I'm like, it's over. We can't stop them. They're going to score. And then suddenly our defense figured it out, I guess.
There were stretches where they were scoring on like 8 consecutive possessions. Just we just really struggled to stop them in this one, especially in the first half. And obviously credit to them for for kind of having our number this season. Apparently, it's just one of those games, like that's a tough place to play. Again, we haven't won there in 9 years, since January of 2013, and obviously both teams are much different than they were then. But once again, Oshuni, we just could not stop him. He was 9 of 10 from the field, and then three other starters, Welch, Holmes, and Attaway, all go 50% from the field on 14 to 16 field goal attempts. All five starters play anywhere from 36 to 40 minutes. These guys were just having their way with us, especially in the first half. The only guy who didn't have a big scoring night was Lofton, who didn't shoot much because he was dishing out assists. They just really picked us apart. And this is in a game where they were not shooting well. Bonaventure was 4 of 18 from three. They love the mid range. That's one thing I didn't mention about the previous game. They killed us in the mid range. They were taking 17 footers and making all of them, and that kind of carried over into this game as well. And then Oshuni just cleaning up everything inside. And we were just in such a hole at halftime that even when we played a pretty good second half, save for a couple stretches, it was just too little too late. We came really, really close, but just not quite enough.
What? And I mean, I don't think we can, if we're talking about good things in this game, I don't think we can, I don't think we can start anywhere other than Jordan Nesbitt.
Yeah.
My goodness. Uh, I, I've that was just bizarre.
I think he has a tendency to kind of get lost in our offense. So I don't think we run enough through him. And I think in times when he's a little more assertive, tends to be in transition, and he's not always the best decision maker in transition. There was one time today, I think he wound up drawing a foul, but he did have a wide open Jimerson alongside him in like a 2-on-1. But regardless, he scores 18 today on 507 3-point shooting. And we needed all of it and then some, because we weren't really getting our offense from many other people. And that's been true for the last couple games. But Nesbitt hasn't really scored lately. And to see him kind of break out in this one, especially in a shooting performance, is pretty interesting.
Yeah, it was. I was just. I think Rothstein even shouted him out on this one.
He did. Yeah. Buy
But
stock. Yeah. Yeah. Buy stock now, I think is what he said.
I'm shaking my head for those who don't watch on YouTube. I just, uh, John Rothstein, man,
Mm.
that's just playing the hits.
Yeah, not my favorite, but but
It's,
um, but regardless, I mean, like to see this shooting out of him today is great, and the shot he took late, when we had the ball 22 seconds left, he winds up taking kind of a off the dribble 3-pointer. I didn't mind it
no,
necessarily. The way he was shooting that day, or in that game, and then the fact that we wouldn't have had a whole lot of time to kind of like, if he had just taken it at the basket, gotten the two, we had to foul. We didn't have a ton of time. I didn't mind the shot at all. That was one of the two that didn't go in, but credit to him for really having a nice shooting day today.
yeah. One thing I think I texted you during the game is I would love to see more of Jimerson plays run for Jimerson with somebody other than Collins having the ball, or try not even plays, more or less just have him try to run off screens with somebody else as the primary ball handler, because I really think that when Collins has the ball, the other team is so focused on Jimerson, and he is getting clutch and grab. But if Collins doesn't have the ball, they're not expecting a crazy pass to Jimerson. So if Jimerson can get open, I just think he has a better chance. I think the defenses are less aware when Collins doesn't have the ball.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I think also a guy like Nesbitt just has to get. I don't know if it's a matter of him getting more used to things, him kind of like learning how to create for himself out of the half court offense, which doesn't seem like a natural instinct for him necessarily as a young player. Um, but no, I don't disagree, and I got to go back and watch this game and kind of see what he was doing to get a little more involved, but. I think I do like to see a little more action run with our wings. You know, we've got some pretty talented scorers there. I just wish we would kind of use them more.
One thing that's changed over the last two games is Jordan Nesbitt was used pretty regularly to be a secondary ball handler up the court. And that has seemingly disappeared, that role for him in the
He's
last two games. I mean,
he's got that skill set. I mean, he thinks of himself as a combo guard. You know, he's
right.
6'5", 6'6", and he thinks of himself. That's out of high school. That's what he thought himself as. So he's always been somebody who's confident with the ball in his hands for sure.
But what I'm saying is like it worked. It gave Yuri Collins some time to chill. You
Yeah,
know, instead of having to work the ball up the court himself and then run the offense, why aren't we given and Nesbitt's the kind of guy that can go coast to coast. He is, you know,
which I wouldn't mind seeing him do more.
yeah, it's shades of like a more in control Malik Yarborough.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. No,
Like he's not rolling downhill like Sonic the Hedgehog. Like
right.
he's, you know, it's yeah, Nesbitt has a little out of control tendency to him, but he's a wild card. I love that dude. Like
Well, he's more athletic. He can change speeds, you know, which is important, and he's a better ball handler. If we, you know, if we're comparing him to Yarborough, he's not quite
oh yes, yeah,
the
no.
bull that Malik was, but yeah, he brings a lot of a much sharper set of tools, you know,
Sure.
to the game.
My general point was that give Yuri a break here. We don't need
Yeah.
him bringing the ball up.
Yeah, and Yuri had one of those games today. He actually wound up playing only 25 minutes because he got into some foul trouble, wound up fouling out actually. It was one of those games where you're like, how did he end up with 10 assists? I remember about half of them. He did it kind of quietly and had another high turnover game with 6 of them. Didn't really score much in this one. Um, just not his best game. You know, I think Bonaventure, Lofton for one, you got to give credit because he really has been tough on Collins. You know, really both directions. It's been a tough assignment for him. Um, and things have just kind of gotten a little bogged down with Yuri doing a little too much dribbling against Bonaventure.
Yeah, I just this game, man. This
Yeah.
game drove me up a wall. I don't even know where to go. What
Well, I mean, I guess the last couple things I would add is this is another issue. Like, just the last game was 18-7 in turnovers, slew to Bonaventure. This game, exact same thing, 17-5, 5. So Bonaventure had 12 turnovers in 2 games against us. 12 is not a bad turnover number in one game. That's what they've got in 2 games against us. It's going to be hard to win a game if you can't force turnovers against a team. The other thing, again, you've got the Okoro Linson minute split with Okoro about 2/3 of the time, and Linson 1/3. I'm not saying it has to be 50-50, but I think it should be a little bit closer, honestly, in this one.
yeah, I agree. Um, People love to talk about Travis Ford as a coach, an in-game coach. People love it. It's the great debate among Billiken fans and Billiken trolls. Um, I mean, he's got to get credit for making an adjustment in that locker room at halftime in this one. I mean, yeah, we lost. I'm pissed. I'm not happy with a loss, but there were adjustments made, and you know, at least someone on the staff sees it and made a change.
Yeah, they played it. it was a little bit different defensive strategy against us today. They played a lot more man to man. Ford did adjust at halftime. We played a much better second. I mean, we scored 47 in the second half. You can't be upset with that. I think we did have some defensive lapses that led to a couple of runs by them in the second half that I think was enough. Well, definitely was enough for them. Um, I do think we kind of have to figure out the foul thing. Look, Oshuni gets, for whatever reason, he gets star treatment in this league. He just does. He always gets the benefit of the doubt. I think a lot of that has to do with his length and shot blocking ability. The other guys, though, I look at like Welch and Adams in particular. Um, those guys just know how to sell fouls. They just do. I don't know how else to say it. And or not Adams, Attaway, Welch, Attaway, and even Holmes a little bit. Um, they really know what they're doing. And our guys just kind of haven't figured that out yet. I want to see that skill. We've talked about this before, blossom in Gibson Jimerson. I mean, there's a guy who, if he sold everything that was done to him in a game, he'd shoot 10 free throws a game and he'd probably hit 8 or 9 of them. That would be a big difference for us. And so I think our guys kind of have to figure that out. I think Nesbitt's a guy too who could probably get to the line a little more often. So, there are definitely lessons to be learned from this, but really I come away from this game thinking I just hope Bonaventure is on the opposite side of the bracket in the A10 tournament, the same way I felt about Dayton before. So I don't know, and I think my buddy Joe texted the exact same thing to me.
We're setting up for the third match. You can't beat us 3 times in a season. You're not going to.
Ooh, I don't know. After these 2 games, I kind of don't want to find out.
Let's roll around the A10. Or actually, let's look ahead. Wednesday, the 16th, versus LaSalle. That's literally tomorrow from when you're listening to this. This is the weakness of the medium we're on. It's rescheduled from January 5th. Was supposed to be on the 15th until the Bonaventure game was moved to the 14th and bumped it back a day. Saturday the 19th, we're heading to Davidson. SLU plays well at Davidson.
Yeah, we've never won at Belk Arena. Now, small sample size. The Davidson hasn't been in the A10 or as long as we have. So I think we've only played like 5 games there, but still, we've never won there. And it would be nice to kind of get that monkey off our back and at least be able to say we can win there. But the way these last couple games have gone, and even though Davidson's looked a little vulnerable and they lost this week, and then let Duquesne give them a little bit of a game today at home, I still think that's a really tough matchup for us. So not necessarily looking forward to it.
Now we'll go around the A10. February 7th, Monday, Richmond beats George Mason 62-59. Tuesday, Bonaventure beat Fordham 76-51. VCU 73, Rhode Island 64. It's the A10, man. Rhode Island could be a pillow fight team, man.
Yeah, they really could.
They were hyped up for the season up there in Kingston.
They have some talent. They've got some really exciting transfers, and those guys, played well in non-conference. But I don't know, man. It's kind of a mess.
Wednesday, GW 77, UMass 68. Mason beat Richmond in OT 87-84. They split that Monday, Wednesday, home and home. The player of the year candidate, Josh Aduro, was back in this one. God, he is not good. I
disagree.
I know you do. Dayton 75, Duquesne 54. I'm just being petty and bitchy. Davidson 73, St. Joe 67. Saturday, UMass 69. Nice. St. Joe 67. Dayton 80, GW 54. Rhode Island 72, Davidson 65. VCU 85, Mason 70. VCU scoring 85 points?
Yeah, but also letting up 70. A
That,
weird game for them.
Fordham 65, Duquesne 54. Richmond 77, LaSalle 63. Monday, February 14th, Davidson beats Duquesne 71-62. And then Dayton edges Rhode Island 63-57 in what could have been a disaster for the Flyers.
Yeah, and that one just finished like as we're recording, so I didn't really see that one, but it was at Rhode Island. I think Dayton was only a 2-point favorite there, so they still covered for those of you who care about such things. But regardless, the way Rhode Island has been, even with that unexpected win over Davidson a few nights ago, um, that definitely would have been a bad loss for Dayton.
On the women's side of things, we dove into the Davidson game. That was sandwiched between a Dayton game and a GW game. Dayton game at home. The Billikens drop it by 15 to Dayton. Again, this is a depleted roster. I don't really know if it's even fair to dissect this game or any other games unless they win. I really don't think it's fair. And you can call me like a shill, whatever. I don't care. Like, this team has so many damn injuries. Like, it's brutal to watch.
No, I actually do agree. And this is the one with that, miscommunication I started talking about at the beginning of the show, where they hung with Dayton really until the end of this. And then, Dayton makes a layup, they turn it over, Dayton goes on a little run, and that's basically the end of the game. So the score looks like they lost by 15. It really was not that until the last couple minutes. SLU had no bench points in this one, to kind of give you an idea of where they're at. Harbison's got 20, Flowers puts up 10 and 14, McNeil 12 and 6, Gould 10 and 4. They just have to kind of give everything they've got left to hang in these games. Dayton, as people may or may not know, is now 10 and 1 in conference. They're 19 and 4 on the season. They're a really good team. They only just had their first loss after this game. So a lot of credit to SLU for showing a lot of heart in this one. And then we already went over the Davidson game, winning their next one. To me, that's a successful week.
Yeah, and then today's game, it went down at about 1 p.m. today.
Yeah.
Here, let me just put this out to you. The Billikens played 7 players. And yes, it was a laugher, so to speak. 63-41, George Washington wins. Billikens played 7 players. George Washington played 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 players.
Mm-hmm.
Double the number of SLU players had available.
Which seems like the strategy, right? I mean, this is
George. Most of them were probably garbage time minutes here at the end, but regardless.
But also, if you're playing a team where they've got half a roster available, let's just kind of throw shifts at them. Let's bring on fresh legs every few minutes. George Washington is not a great team. They started 0-8 in conference. They've actually won the last 3. So they're starting to figure something out to get out of the cellar. But regardless, they see SLU coming in. They know we're depleted, and they can go deep. So that's what they do. SLU also a sign of tired legs. They shoot 29% from the field in this one, 16% from 3, and only 50% from the free throw line. They're out rebounded by 9. Everything you see in this one is just a sign that they're running out of gas, or that arguably they've already run out of gas. So it's unfortunate, but there's not a lot they can do about it.
Yeah, no, just would like to see Kaija get well soon and be back on the court.
Yep.
Upcoming for the women on the 16th. That's
tomorrow.
St. Joe's on the 19th. They go to LaSalle.
Those are both middle of the pack teams,
possible win.
500-ish teams. Um, we'll see. Anything's possible, but I kind of feel like anything's going to be a tall order for this women's team the rest of the year.
Yeah. Over to softball real quick. Tough weekend for them. They go 1-4. They started off nice. Sam Ford, 8-1 win. Southern Miss, former conference foe, they lose 6-2. Samford, they dropped a 9-0 decision in 5 innings in the second of 2 games against Samford. And then lost back-to-back games against North Alabama, 6-2 in 8 innings. And then North Alabama beat them 7-3 in the end of that event. Baseball. Pete, if you want to run down what happened with baseball this week and what's happening next week.
They've added a guy, Adam Revelette, to the coaching staff for this season. And then they'll be playing in that Hoover, Alabama multi-team event that Coach Hendrickson talked about when we had him on the show. So they'll start out the 18th through the 20th of February against Bowling Green down there in Hoover, which, as he said, is a really nice place to play and an easy bus ride from St. Louis. So yeah, baseball kicking off soon.
Break out the Bama Bangs. We're heading to Hoover, Alabama.
That's right.
One of the most absurd MTV shows of all time. Swimming and diving, A10 Championships this weekend in Geneva, Ohio. That's right. We already made the Geneva, Switzerland joke last episode. So I won't do it again. February 16th through the 19th. Track and field, Pete.
Competing in an event called the Friday Night Special, which is kind of fun.
Not happening at Lacledes.
Not happening. Unfortunately, not. Not that I would remember anything that happened on a Friday night at Lacledes. But that's at Eastern Illinois on the 18th, and that's the last event of the indoor track season before the A10 Championships, which will be later this month. So we'll keep track of that for you.
On the tennis side of things, men shut out Quincy twice in a doubleheader, 4-0, 4-0 on Sunday, February 13th. Women's tennis, they dropped a 4-3 decision at Louisville. They were down 3-0, and they forced the 7th match decision. And then they beat Bellarmine 4-0 on the 13th. Pete, you got to buy me some time. I got to see how good Louisville is at tennis, because I feel like that's a decent result.
It sure seems like it. I mean, when you go down to an ACC, anytime you play a power conference in a non-revenue sport, you kind of got to assume that they're going to be some tough competition. But I would say this overall is a really nice weekend in Louisville to go across town and then sweep Bellarmine the next day after barely losing at that ACC school the day before.
I'm not even seeing there. Am I on the wrong season? Because I see nothing. I don't see the Billikens at all.
I was really counting on you to have something for me by that.
No. This can't be. I can't be in the right season because this ACC. Okay, no, I'm not. I'm on 21-22. Thanks a lot, Google. No, they don't seem to be too bad. I mean, like, they beat Cincinnati 5-2. Lost to an SEC school 6-1, but like, they're not bad. But a lot of matches they didn't actually play, it seems like. I don't know. Anyway, that's yeah, I'm just gonna, I'm just rambling at this point. But that wraps up the week that was in Billiken Athletics. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at Midtown Mad Pod, at Peter is a tweeter, at Zach Miller MMP. We also appreciate any and all suggestions you might have for the show. Please go subscribe to the show on all platforms. And if you haven't left a review, don't be afraid to drop 5 stars and leave us a review with it. Also, it blows my mind anytime anybody stops me anywhere and mentions the podcast. So do that because it's the weirdest thing and it's pretty cool. So if you see me out and about, say hi. Don't.
Yeah, we'll talk to anybody, anytime, in any context. Always happy to talk SLU, the show, anything.
Yeah. Also, Also, if I stare at you blankly, it's because I'm trying to remember if I should know you or not. I am so bad with faces and names. I apologize, guys.
I
And
also want to say before we do the final sign off, we do have all three signees for the incoming men's basketball class. You've got Nick Kramer at SLU, Kellen Thames at Pattonville. They're both playing their last couple regular season games before they get into the playoffs. Sincere Parker, Moberly Area Community College. They play at St. Louis Community College at Forest Park today when this drops, Tuesday the 15th. So if you want to get a chance to see Parker, who's a nice scorer, one of the better scorers in all of junior college basketball, he's at Forest Park tonight playing against, I think they are called the Archers, if I'm not mistaken, St. Louis Community College. So go check them out if you get a chance. And then, obviously, if you're in the St. Louis area, go see the other two guys play. They're getting ready to start the playoffs in the next couple of weeks here. So, check out our recruits. Recruiting has been quiet lately, but I'm sure we'll have a lot more as we get into the spring.
St. Louis Archers sounds like the made up team name that I would do when I'd be playing in the basement, pretending to be a pro athlete. Yeah, that's it for both of us. As always, go Bills.
Go Bills.